on my show of what I'm going to talk about on my show today is I'm going to talk about a topic discussion of rent. And here's the special guest stars, Russell and McKay.
Hi.
So what's your example about rent?
I'm failing to pay mine at the moment.
So Russ, what's your example?
I really don't know about rent because we've been living in the same house for like 14 years now, so I really have no idea.
And for me, there's different terms for rent. There's a Broadway show and also movie called Rent. And the other term for rent is if you're wanting to rent a movie on demand or Redbox. And the third term is if you're wanting to rent an apartment. So, do you have any other examples?
Which one are we talking about?
We're talking about rent of the apartment.
Okay.
Russ?
I know. Rent is pretty hard these days. Pretty much buying anything at this point, especially a house in this day and age, is quite almost impossible for young, uprising millennials.
Yep.
So, Russ, do you have any other examples?
I agree with McKay, though. It is definitely hard for, a person to, rent, a house or, an apartment, because, most
pricey.
of them are, super expensive, and, even, in the college dorms, they're, about, 12,000 fucking bucks or something, so that's, I don't know. Living is expensive. That's all I can say.
My example about rent, again, it depends on what state you're living in, because there are some areas that are super cheap, but they could be in a rough area if you're paying $300 to $400 a month. But if you're looking for something really nice, it can go up to $1,000 to $3,000 a month. Is that right?
That is correct. I think if you're divinely protected and you know what the hell is going on, then you don't gotta worry about people invading your stuff, because you kind of gotta be a match to that kind of situation. But that's my own woo-woo belief, so we won't talk about that.
So, Russ, do you have any other opinions?
Nope. That's all I can say.
And I think also in my other opinion about rent that yes, it went straight up. What do you call it when it goes straight up?
It goes straight up.
See, back in the 80s and 70s, back then rent was really cheap, but now it's high skates up there. I mean, if I was president, why can't we say, okay, maybe some of the rent can be cheap and the other one could go really up, but again, it's not my control of. And I'm just letting everyone know is if you're a manager that or other high paying jobs of corporate level, if you make 50 to 100,000 a year, you could probably afford that. But again, we're not that type of level, or we're not doctors. Do you have any else of your opinions?
That's not very much money, honestly. I mean, I have to pay $1,000 for my rent just to live with my parents. So it's really, 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 really expensive to actually rent a place for your own. This can be get a roommate, get a couple of pals that you can kind of tolerate and live with, and then just see what you can do with that.
So, Russ, do you have any examples?
Yeah, get a bunch of roommates, have fun, do drunk stuff or whatever, get high, do a thing. I don't know.
Because also again, in my other opinion, like, let's say if a person's making like $10 an hour or maybe up to like $15 an hour, again, like, is that enough money to like live on? Not much, but you know what? Each situation is different. Is that right?
Very true.
So Russ, any other examples you have?
Nope. Nothing at all.
And for me, like, again, I understand, like, for people out there that wants their own place, that's fine, but again, you'll probably have to be, like, much stable to afford it, or it depends if you're able to afford it on your own. Like, can a person be stable to, like, buy it, or does it depend?
You have to make yourself use your gifts in the world, and then you won't have to worry about it. But you gotta learn how to do that in a very financially profitable way.
And I'm just saying, as for me, hey, maybe someday I'll live on my own, but right now, I can't afford that because, again, if you're on like a fixed income like me, then that just depends on how well you do in that situation. Is that right?
Yes.
Anything else you want to say?
I don't believe so.
So, Russ, do you have anything else?
Nope.
And before we go, we want to share this topic about why it's important of rent in today's society. I'm just saying before I go is you are welcome to like travel back in time to 1985
You're welcome
so
Alright.
you could pay much cheaper rent, but that doesn't really help solve your problem. And again, time machine, it doesn't exist yet. And also another thing is, oh, sorry about that. And the other thing, when I went to Colorado before, that Colorado, that's not a cheap place to live in either. Is that right?
I've never been to Colorado.
And again, each rent situation is different no matter what. And that's all for our show today. And make sure to comment below. Don't forget to subscribe. Click like on the bottom below. And don't forget to hit the bell for more notifications. And that's all for our show today. And see you next time.
Yeah.